It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I am Fred Wooden, though not Fred Rogers, and this is worship at Valley UU Congregation here in Chandler, Arizona. You can see that we are in our sanctuary. We have a few friends joining us, and you may see more of them as the morning goes on. But we are also joined, if you look around, and some of you can, by a ton of stuff that's left over from yesterday's rummage sale. In fact, some of you are sitting on chairs that didn't get sold. Now that kind of spoils the whole church look, don't you think? Unless church doesn't mean looking like church, but being church. And if being church means helping one another, if being church means being together for a larger purpose, then all this stuff is very church indeed. So let's dive in and be church together, which we do in this congregation by lighting a flaming chalice. So Mary Rothschild, could you help us do that?
Please bring your chalice close to you if you have one and you're at home, and let us all say our chalice lighting words. We kindle this flame, symbol of our faith, for the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of love, which calls us to work for justice.
Good morning, I'm Haley. I'm the Faith Formation Assistant here at Valley Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Lost my thought there. We just wanted to thank everyone who donated to the rummage sale, as well as everyone who came to the rummage sale. We were able to raise a lot of money, so that's awesome. Today's pastoral care associate is Dan Schulte. You may contact him via pastoralcare@vuu.org. And just as a reminder to those on Zoom, please post your joys, concerns, or any chat privately, not during the meditation or the service. Today's Time for All Ages is a story called Even Higher. It's about Rosh Hashanah and what miracles may look like. Even Higher, a Rosh Hashanah story by I.L. Peretz, adapted by Eric A. Kimmel and illustrated by Jill Weber. Where did the rabbi go? Every year during the days before Rosh Hashanah, the rabbi of Nemirov disappeared. He wasn't in his house. He wasn't in the synagogue. He wasn't in the market. Where was he? The people of Nemirov thought they knew. They were certain that the rabbi went to heaven. I mean, where else would he go? Everyone knew that on Rosh Hashanah, God opens the book of life and decides the fate of every living soul for the coming year. On Rosh Hashanah, it was written, and on Yom Kippur, it was sealed. Who will be raised up, and who will be brought low? Who will rest in one place, and who will wander? Prayer, charity, and repentance could save a soul from misfortune, but there were so many souls in need of forgiveness and so little time for their prayers to be heard and their good deeds to be recorded. So of course the rabbi went to heaven to beg and plead with God to forgive each soul. And God listened, because the rabbi of Nemirov was a great and holy man. Now it happened that a Litvik came to town. A Litvik is what we call a person from Lithuania. But the word means more than that. It means a scoffer, a doubter, one who does not believe in miracles. This Litvik was a true Litvik, a complete skeptic. You mustn't think he was not religious. No, he was a pious man and a learned one. But whenever someone in town talked about a miracle he had seen with his own eyes, this Litvik would quote from the writings of the 10 famous rabbis, proving that it could not happen. So naturally, when the people of Nemirov talked about their rabbi going to heaven, the Litvik refused to believe it. The Bible teaches that only Enoch and Elijah went to heaven in their lifetimes. Are you saying that your rabbi is as great as Elijah? Scoffer. All we know is that our rabbi goes to heaven before Rosh Hashanah. If he doesn't, where else does he go? He doesn't go to heaven, the Litvak insisted. As Rosh Hashanah approached, the Litvik made plans to uncover the rabbi's secret. He sneaked into the rabbi's house and hid beneath his bed. He told himself, wherever the rabbi goes, I will follow. The Litvik trembled, but he stayed where he was. 2 hours before dawn, the rabbi got up. He washed, said his morning prayers, then went to his closet. The Litvik watched as the rabbi put on the rough, homespun clothes of a peasant. The rabbi tied a rope around his waist and walked out the door. Litvik followed, stepping quietly on tiptoes. He watched the rabbi pick up a hatchet lying down beside a woodpile and followed him through the silent streets of a sleeping town. Then all the way to the forest. Wherever he's going, it isn't heaven, the Litvik sneered. The rabbi walked to a part of the forest where several trees had blown over in a windstorm. The wood was dry, well seasoned. As the Litvik watched, the rabbi chopped off the larger branches, splitting them into firewood and kindling. He tied the wood together and hoisted the heavy bundle onto his back. Is he going to sell the wood in the marketplace? The Litvik wondered as he followed the rabbi back to town. The rabbi turned down a crooked alley filled with trash and sewage. Rags stuffed the holes in the broken window panes. The crumbling houses leaned together in misery. The Litvik hesitated. Why was the rabbi here? The rabbi stopped before a wretched shack. He knocked on the door. A weak voice inside groaned. Who's there? Hey, old girl, Who do you think it is? It's your pal Vasily the woodcutter. I got some prime wood for you. It'll burn like a devil in your stove." The Litvik was shocked. How could a rabbi, a holy man, talk in such a crude manner? "Go away," said the person inside. "How can I buy any wood? I'm old, I'm sick, and I don't have any money." The rabbi pushed through the door. The Litvik looked through the window. He saw an ancient woman, thin as a stick of kindling, lying on the floor. "Of course you're sick, Grandma," the rabbi said, dropping his bundle. "This house is freezing. Get a good fire going and you'll feel better. Look, I've got a stove, wood, and kindling. Only 6 kopecks for the bundle. Don't tell me you don't have that." "I don't." "So, you'll pay me later. Don't you think that mighty, powerful God you pray to can't somehow come up with 6 crummy pennies to help a poor old woman buy firewood?" "All right, leave the wood. But how am I going to light it? I'm too sick to get out of bed." "Silly girl, I'll light you such a fire. You'll jump up and dance." As the Litvik watched, the rabbi arranged the wood and the kindling in the stove. He struck a match and sang in a low, sad tone. "Let's go, buddies, up the road. There's a tavern waiting. Light a fire on the stove. All our pals are singing." The wood began to crackle. Heat filled the room. Sparks rose from the stove to float in the air like dancing balls of light. And the Vasily, the woodcutter, who was really the rabbi of Nimrov, pulled the old woman from the pallet on the floor and whirled her around in a circle. Together they began to sing and dance. "Fetch a bottle, bring a glass. Life is well worth living." The Litvik did not wait to see more. He ran through the streets until he reached his room. There he remained for 3 days. The Litvik became a follower of the rabbi of Nimrov that Rosh Hashanah. He remained one for the rest of his life. Never again did he scoff at miracles. And whenever he heard someone say that on the days before Rosh Hashanah the rabbi of Nimrov flew up to heaven, he would nod his head and add in a quiet voice, "Who knows? Maybe even higher." The miracle is, there are no miracles. We don't need them. Ordinary kindness and compassion are enough to save the world.
In this strange hybrid COVID world, if you're at home, please join us in singing one of our congregation's favorite hymns, "Come Sing a Song with Me." And if you're in the sanctuary, as I am, please hum along behind your mask. It's my greatest hope that someday soon we'll all be able to sing together again, but for now, in person, it's humming. Come sing or hum a song with me.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time.
Good morning. I'm Mary Rothschild, your worship associate, and I want to welcome all of you to Valley Unitarian Universalist Congregation, both in the sanctuary and on Zoom. We're a loving, welcoming community, and we're delighted that you are here. Are people hearing me in Zoom, I hope? Good. Whatever your heritage, whoever you choose to love, however your family is structured, and however you feel difference or sameness, we're so glad you're here with us this morning. With this in mind, it is our great pleasure to have guests in our congregation and to specially welcome you to join us in worship today. For everyone who is on Zoom following the service, you can stay for a breakout room. And if you are new to us and on Zoom, please stay where you are. Do not accept a breakout room invitation, and you can meet with some members and our minister, the Reverend Fred Wooden, to welcome you and answer any questions you may have about VUU or Unitarian Universalism more generally. Well, today, the old adage, humans plan and God laughs, is at least somewhat true. As we had originally thought, we would all be in our sanctuary today for our homecoming Sunday to begin our new church year with our first in-person, everybody welcome here, service. Since we stopped services in the sanctuary on March 15th, 2020, which seems like a galaxy very far away. But we're adaptable. So instead, a small number of us are in the sanctuary now, and many more are joining us on Zoom. It's what we have to do because of COVID and our state's unfortunately high infection numbers. In addition to what was supposed to be the start of our congregation's new church year this week, Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year of 5782, began on Monday night and concluded on Wednesday evening to start the high holidays, the days of awe, leading up to Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, this year, the 16th of September. It's the second year the high holidays have been in the time of COVID, as we are in our second year of virtual worship here at VUU. Although missing church in person because of the pandemic has been really hard on me personally, ironically, for some people, the pandemic has been a, quote, spiritual boon, as the Washington Post noted in a long article this week on Rosh Hashanah. How has that happened? As one woman said, and I quote, "My spirituality has increased hundreds-fold because of the pandemic, because everything under the sun became accessible online. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to turn inward as much as I did and slow down," she said, her voice breaking. "It helped me to prioritize the things that really were the most important to me in my heart. It changed my journey," end quote. Several people in the article mentioned how they had gotten involved with other synagogues, and most importantly, with small affinity groups, with other people, perhaps thousands of miles away, much like our VUU small groups, our connection circles or Chalice circles, and how those groups have influenced their feelings of connection and deepened their spirituality and spiritual practice. For my part, one of the very hardest things about the pandemic and my self-imposed quarantine in the beginning was missing coming to church and choir practice. Until COVID, I had not realized how crucial those two events were to structuring my week. Seeing people, taking part in the rituals, lighting our chalice, listening to the sermons in person, watching our adorable children up in the front on the floor, at the time for all ages, standing for the bridge of love and singing. Losing all of that was profound for me. Truly a surprisingly shocking loss in my daily life. Zoom was better than nothing, but especially no longer seeing the children, singing as a congregation, and seeing friends as whole people, not just shoulders and heads. It just didn't compare with what I have always known at VUU and depended on having in my life. On the plus side, however, like the people interviewed in the Post, my connection circle, one of our new small groups begun because of COVID, has introduced me to 4 wonderful women I've become devoted to and has been a great new gift in my life. Additionally, the Spirit of Life Reading Circle, just beginning our 8th year, has become so happy on Zoom that we've decided to continue on Zoom, even when we can safely meet again in person. Maybe only meeting in person with treats every 3rd or 4th month to see each other in the flesh. So, like the people in the Post article, there have been some pluses for me too with our new formats. And maybe more importantly, I think we're going to be hybrid perhaps forever. So we need to get comfortable and find the positive in our new ways of being. As Rosh Hashanah welcomes in a new year all over the world, I'm hoping we will find it in ourselves to welcome the changes in our lives here at VUU and wherever we are in the world. As the shofar, the curling ram's horn, blows in the new year, let this Rosh Hashanah help us welcome in a happy and healthy new year to people of all faiths and backgrounds. At this troubling time of political polarization, this 20-year anniversary of 9/11, and this seemingly unending pandemic, may the shofar blowing be a clarion call for peace, justice, and loving kindness. And though this is not our previously planned homecoming Sunday, may it still begin a happy new church year for us all. L'Shana Tova.
Seeing all this stuff in the room left over from the rummage sale reminds me of a time 40-some years ago now, when Wendy, my wife, and I were part of a food co-op comprised of seminary students and their families. Because we were seminary students, we housed the food co-op in a church. Pews, altar, organ, the whole 9 yards, and every 2 weeks the food would be dropped off in a large truck. And we would all help unload the truck, and we'd stack the food in the pews, separated by each group, and we would organize it there. And for a few hours, the church, in this case, the University Church in Hyde Park, Chicago, was simply a warehouse with stained glass windows. While it can be debated whether worship with sermons and songs does any real good, there is no doubt that the folks who got their food in that church that day or found a bargain in the sanctuary here yesterday derived real good from this space. That's one of the reasons I'm so proud that Valley UU congregation offered its worship space, its most sacred place, as a home for those without homes for many months. Just because we could not worship here did not mean they could not live here. And I dare say we did more good for more people in those months than we will ever know. So I want you to think about that as we take the offering. What good do we do together? That's what the offering is about. It's not whether you get something worth your money in the basket. It's not, well, I'll put in $20 if the preacher does okay. It's, can we do some good for each other and the world? That's what your offering is about, and you do it. So when we take your money, we are doing the good that needs to be done for ourselves and others. And I think that's worth a lot. How much? Well, that's up to you. So Ken will take the offering at this time.
We now enter into the time of centering. I invite you to take a breath, to allow the space into your hearts and minds to open wide. I invite you to allow the energy of this week to dissipate and move through you, out of you. And now to allow my music to allow you to become fully present to the moment.
Everyone here and everyone who was not here should all do this as appreciation for Barbara's gift of music today. I never script the prayerful moment. I discovered that I need to trust where my heart is at that moment to be present. It forces me to be present and not think about what a great prayer I wrote. And oddly, as Barbara was playing, what I thought about was the picture book that we saw, and the figures, because they reminded me instantly of Marc Chagall. whose figures, often taken from the folklore of the Jewish community, defied all the rules of physics. They would walk through the sky, they would go up and down, irrespective of gravity, and reminded me that in the world he knew, in that world of the Jewish community that is called the Pale, that magic and miracle blended daily with their lives. Had to, because their lives were so stressed, so threatened. They needed miracles so they could stay alive. So I'm wondering for you, what miracle do you need to stay alive? Do you need to believe that you can step on a cloud and reach up to heaven? Do you need to believe that a rabbi will come to your door with free wood and dance with you while the fire is burning? Do you need to believe that your neighbors really are good neighbors, though you haven't had proof of that yet? What is the miracle you need to keep going? Because that's all right. You need that miracle. You need that exception to the expected, because that's what miracles are. The exception to the expected, because our expectations can be so grim. Find a miracle that is the exception to the expected. And that is your prayer. Now, as another rabbi would say, go and study. With that prayerful thought in mind, Mary, did you need to introduce this next piece? I think you do, because I remember you practicing it earlier.
Our special music today is A New Day, a wonderful piece from the 92nd Street Y, the Young Men's and Young Women's Hebrew Association, a vibrant organization at 92nd and Lexington on the Upper East Side of New York City, which some of you may know as their amazing lecture series and concerts are live streamed and feature an astonishing assortment of artists, intellectuals, politicians, and musicians. This video is one they made to celebrate Rosh Hashanah 5 years ago, and every time I hear it, it makes me happy. As we begin our new church year, I wish you a happy new year, Lashana Tova.
May this be a year of love and kindness.
May strangers come to be friends.
May truth and compassion always guide us. Amen.
May this be a year of hope and healing
For all of those in need,
May all of our deeds be a blessing. Amen. A new year, a good year, a chance to start all over. A new year, a long as there are stars above.
There comes a new year.
Before I get started in earnest, speaking of miracles and doing good, I want to remind everyone, those here, but also everywhere in our community. Look at all of you up there. That's wonderful to see you all. How beautiful you are. That not only does our rummage sale do good things for our coming of age community, they raised $2,400 yesterday to help them go off to Boston and experience the home turf of UUism. I want to remind you that right here, there are members of this community. I'm thinking especially of Bill Elliott and a few others who are working, Karen Stuckey, on getting people to sign petitions to tell the state of Arizona in its occasional deafness that changing certain laws, the flat tax, the tax cap, and the new tax categories referenda, will have a devastating effect on the children of Arizona. And while we may debate the policies and politics, the reality is that if we do not make our children our most important citizens, we are diminishing ourselves and not just them. I'm not an Arizonan, although I do pay my taxes and I pay them gladly. Let's make sure everyone pays their taxes, even if not gladly, so that glad children may be part of Arizona's future. See Bill come by the office on a regular basis, and on this Saturday, September 18th, from 9 to noon, they will be there waiting for you. All right, now I get to do my preaching bit. A few weeks ago, I talked about the importance of the old in society, specifically that they have perspective that only years can bring. Today, I'm glad for that because perspective is sorely needed for this weekend that is the 20th anniversary of the attacks of September 11th, 2001. Not just because I was there, quite literally, I really was, watching it from our apartment window in Brooklyn Heights, but because even then I was old enough to see it through the lens of middle age. Shocking moments were not new to me. For example, I was 10 when the teachers on the playground told us President Kennedy had been shot. And I was 27 in Chicago when a jumbo jet crashed at O'Hare, an airport I used on a regular basis. I was 33 watching the television a cold January morning when we all watched the shuttle Challenger go up and explode in front of our eyes. And I was 48 that perfect September morning 20 years ago when the airplanes came and hit the Twin Towers. Now, most of us, if you live long enough, you'll be witness to some disaster or another. There are plenty of them. I looked up a website of disasters. It's huge. The longer you live, then, the more disasters you're likely to see. Even folks my age and older, though, were shocked by September 11th, 2001. So I was not as shocked as others were, and I wondered about that. Was I cold-hearted? Was I somehow uncaring? Well, one reason, I think, was that we had returned that May from 4 months abroad on my one and only sabbatical, which we took through Europe, the boys and Wendy and I, living a month in Rome, a month in Vienna, a month in Paris, and a month in London. Going out from there, but those were our headquarters. And every one of those cities, so beautiful, so historic, so rich, every one of them had a history of being attacked, damaged, destroyed often more than once. Take Rome, the center of which is still the ruins of imperial Rome. Nothing but a stack of old marble chips, broken columns, half walls, strewn rocks. It was so abandoned in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th century that it filled in with dirt. The forum vanished beneath it, and it was known by the locals as the Campo di Vacca, a cow field. When they unearthed it, they found the Roman Forum. That was in the 18th century. Meanwhile, medieval Rome, which was almost abandoned, was attacked and sacked, almost every century, like clockwork. The armies of the Pope fought the armies of the Holy Roman Emperor. They call it La Città Eternella, the eternal city, but I think it's more accurate to call it the Rovino Eternelle, the eternal ruin. And yet, when we were there 20 years ago, it was alive and vital and modern, and people in fashionable clothes were going about, and the buses moved back and forth. It was as alive then as it ever was 2,000 years ago, built atop, alongside, and from the very stones that had been built and leveled once or twice or 3 times before. In the glittering boulevards of Paris, I learned that they were constructed by Baron von Haussmann to allow the armies to put down rebellions, because Parisians were really good at starting them on a regular basis. Stately St. Paul's of London, the monument of Sir Christopher Wren, whose monument in the basement reads from the Latin reads in English, "If you seek a monument to the builder, look about you." That cathedral, spared during the Blitz, replaced the one that burned to the ground in 1666 when most of London was afire. Wherever we went, I saw how the beauty and charm that I saw was built upon the wreckage of previous wars and disasters. But that has not been the American experience. Yes, there have been some awful fires in Boston and New York and Chicago, even other cities. And earthquakes have rocked San Francisco and Los Angeles, but no American city, except one, has been attacked by an invader. Washington, D.C., in 1814, when it was barely more than a village. Yes, you might say the attack on Pearl Harbor, but let's give the Japanese credit. They didn't bomb the city, which doesn't mean they were right. It just means that no American city in living memory, in anyone's memory, has ever been attacked by an enemy the way almost every city in the world elsewhere has been. We were the exception, and proudly so, I should say. We were the exception, the American exception to the sordid history of a world. Our insularity was proof of our superiority. September 11th then rattled not just our physical security, but our moral certitude that we were better than everyone else. We are a nation founded on a notion of being morally better, on freedom, not monarchs, on liberty, not on might. The attacks of September 11th then told us that perhaps we were mistaken. That was the real shock, if we think about it, that it could happen here to us. This past week, our screens and pages were filled with retrospectives and analyses. I did not read a single one. Whenever the channel said 9/11 this or that, I flipped to another one instantaneously. But I would be willing to bet that none of them took this perspective that I am taking, that our shock was because we were naive as a nation, thinking we were somehow immune from the laws of history and human nature. I remember thinking then, 20 years ago, but not telling anyone, because I know better, that it was only a matter of time before something like that was going to happen to us. It's a small world. Where did we think we were any further away? I remember thinking and telling no one then that we would not learn the lesson of our own vulnerability and we have not. Instead of asking what it meant to who we are and why we exist, we threw all our weight behind maintaining our exceptionality, proving our might and potence, living as though we were morally harmed and morally superior because of it. 20 years later, we are still where we were 20 years ago. The hard lesson that we are not as good as we think, that we are not innately better than any other society, that our power and glory are as tarnished as Rome or the Holy Roman Empire or the French or the British, that lesson still eludes us. We still think we're the good guys no matter what. And not that I think we're bad, only that we are not always as right as we think we are. So I wonder, what might change that? Well, for me, that lies in the story of the High Holy Days. You knew I was going to get there. It just took me a long time. It happens that the time of the High Holy Days, which run, as you know, from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, but it actually extends beyond it to a holiday called Sukkot, which ends with another holiday called Simchat Torah, a period of 20-some days. What happens to be going on then that you may not know about, only those who attend synagogue would notice this, is that every year, every synagogue reads all the way through the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, and they start over again, but they don't start over on the new year. You would think that's what they would do. They would finish the Torah at the end of one year and start the other year, but no. The last chapters of Deuteronomy are read even after the new year begins. It's not until the end of the holidays, Simchat Torah, that they reach the end and start over. So that means there are at least 2 Sabbaths that occur in the middle of these days that are the final readings of the Torah. Yesterday was Shabbat Shuvah. That means the Sabbath of returning. And the reading from Deuteronomy that day, which I consult because I read my Torah portion every week, included these words from Deuteronomy, which book, by the way, is ascribed to Moses as his last words before he was to die and they were to go into the land of Canaan. Here are a few verses, very few. God is speaking now, just so you know. I will bring them into the land flowing with milk and honey that I promised on oath to their fathers, and they will eat their fill and grow fat and turn to other gods and serve them, spurning me and breaking my covenant. Right there in the Torah, it says you're going to screw up. Moses was telling them, you're going to go in and you're going to forget everything. You're going to forget who you were. And as I think about it, that's a warning to us as a nation. Our land, flowing with the milk and honey of our days, taken from its inhabitants as surely as ancient Israel took theirs from the Canaanites, has lulled us, I think, into a complacency that we were destined, blessed, that we could do no wrong. After all, look at the riches that have fallen before us. Look at our might, our power, our innovation, our success. Now, any literature student will tell you that's a classic setup for a tragic outcome. And September 11th was a lesson in tragedy. But you have to learn the lesson, not just go through the tragedy. This Sabbath between the holy days reminds us and reminds them that the affliction that Israel endures to this day did not start in 1949, did not start in 1929, did not start in 1829. It started in the Bible itself. It's an old, old story from the beginnings at the foot of Mount Sinai to the very last word of the last prophet. They are told you will try hard and you will screw up and you will pay and you will start over again. And that is the lesson of the High Holy Days. Every year we screw up, we forget, we lose ourselves, and we're reminded at the end of the year, turn back. Look where you are. See that you must return. That's what repentance means. In Hebrew, the word teshuvah for repentance comes from the same word shuvah, which means to return. It means to go back. And it means to go back and find yourself, because we lose ourselves in our success, in our power, in our dreams of the future. We lose ourselves when we forget where we started and where we have come from. There's a wonderful story out of the Yiddish tradition captured by Leo Rosten in his book, a Bible I read for years, The Joys of Yiddish. It tells about the son of the couple who had prospered so well that he bought a boat. And so he took his parents down to see the boat. It was an immense yacht, 100 feet long. And the son, grown adult, puts on a captain's hat and says, "See, Ma, that's my boat. I'm the captain." And the mother said, "Bubala, to you you're a captain, to me you're a captain. But to a captain, you're no captain." We grow full of ourselves, of our power, of our success, and think we can be anything, that we are anything, that whatever good we have gotten, we earned, and whatever wisdom we have makes us wise in all things. And that's where the tragedy begins. When we think we no longer have to think at all. A popular song by the Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach sounds the theme rather hauntingly. It goes, return again, return to the land of your soul. And it repeats, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. That's what it means. Return to who you are. When we get caught up in power and privilege and wealth and success, we forget who we are. We cease to be ourselves. We need to remember what we forgot, which is the whole point of repentance. Like, oh my God, I'm lost. Think about that New Testament story of the prodigal son. Father, give me my inheritance. And he goes and wastes it and realizes that he could be better off at home. And the words in the Christian scripture says he came to himself. He came to himself. He remembered who he was. America needs to come back to itself, to the promise we made to ourselves 250 years ago. A promise Dr. King mentioned in his speech in 1963. A promise that is always present if we look, if we stop and look and listen. Now, that's not going to happen today. It didn't happen yesterday. And that's the bad news. The good news is that a year from now, it will be September 11th again. And it will be a chance for a new year, a new reckoning, a new return, a new hope to come to ourselves. But it's going to take courage, because it takes immense courage to say, I'm lost. It takes immense courage to say, I've forgotten who I am. It takes a kind of courage America has trouble finding to say, I was wrong. This is not who I am. Back home in my Michigan house, I was going through files and files and files after I left my church office there, and I threw out a lot. And then I found a file folder, and I said, what's in here? And in it were papers, singed and burned papers that fell from the sky on September 11th fell from the sky on my neighborhood, fell from the sky with dust. The dust of pulverized concrete, the dust of pulverized people, falling like a macabre blizzard on my street, in my neighborhood, on me. And I picked up those papers and set them aside, though I would remember how simple and how profound that moment was. People stood in the street that day, worrying, weeping, as the flotsam and jetsam drifted down on us. And what occurred to me then, in the macabre sense of humor that lives in my bizarre brain, was that those papers on another day might have been part of the famous ticker tape parades that go up the Canyon of Heroes. The same stuff. And yet one of them is a form of greatness, and the other is a form of humiliation. One is a sign of strength, one is a sign of weakness. The same thing. Could there be a more ironic symbol of our national tragedy, that what made us a great nation with all that money and power came from those papers that fell down upon me like the rain of death? Is our strength really our weakness? The lesson this morning, of every year, of every Rosh Hashanah, of every Yom Kippur, is that your strength is your weakness. Or rather, our idea of strength is our weakness. We may not be Christians, but when Jesus talks about the first being last and the last being first, we get a flavor of that again. That those who put themselves at the top are spoiling for a fall. And those who believe that those at the bottom are worthy of being lifted up, they are the ones with courage. So might it be that our weakness is thinking we are strong, and maybe that our strength is remembering that we are only as strong as the person next to us, as the nation next to us. Maybe that's the lesson. It was true for a day or two as we hugged each other in the streets and cared for one another. And maybe you did too, wherever you were. And suddenly, for at least 2 or 3 days, your neighbor was your neighbor and didn't have a suspicious attitude. And maybe for a couple of days, you cared about how they felt. We're not going to learn that this year. But next year, maybe we'll learn a little more. Maybe we'll turn a little more to where we came from. Maybe we will be willing to return to the land of our soul just a little more, to the promise that created us a nation. That silly little promise, 5 silly little words, liberty and justice for all. Maybe someday we'll return to that land of our soul. And then we will walk on clouds like the rabbi, because we will be in heaven and the miracle will be true. Amen. Mary, you got to do this. I'm choking up.
For our closing hymn, please join us singing or humming in "We Are Building a New Way."
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day.
Clapping is allowed.
We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. A new way. A new way. A new
There in Deuteronomy, that same chapter where I quoted a little bit ago, Moses turns to the people and says, I call heaven and earth to witness today that I've set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Choose life, that you and your descendants may live. How can we do that? Well, in another century, another biblical writer said, be doers of the word, not merely hearers. Look into the law of liberty and persevere, being not hearers who forget, but doers who act and are blessed in the doing. Let us do what we can to claim ourselves and our noble heritage of hope. Mary, can you help us close our hour of worship?
Please join me in saying our chalice extinguishing words. Though we extinguish this chalice, our connection to each other and this community remains. May its light guide us this week as we walk the path of justice, speak words of love, and fill our world with compassion until we meet again. Now, if you are on Zoom, please stay for our breakout rooms after the service is over. If you're new and would like to Zoom meet Reverend Wooden and some other VUU members, just stay where you are, decline the breakout room invitation, and you will magically be where Reverend Wooden and friends are to talk and ask questions. I want to personally thank Barbara Metz for her cello playing, which has been gorgeous. And a shout out to the tech team who's worked so hard to make this hybrid service. And now, dear friends, go in peace and Happy New Year, Lashana Tova.
Thank you.
You are all at liberty now, not in terms of masks, but in terms of anything about, don't come over here.
Okay, you should be able to unmute yourselves now.
Hi, Deanne. It's Rick.
Hey, Rick, how are you?
Good. I guess I need to start the video. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
There I go. I'm here too.
Hi, Wendy. Is that your new
Hi, Nancy.
grandson?
Hi,
Yes, my son Stephen, my daughter-in-law Adeline, and our grandson Sam, we're all here.
Oh, so good to have you here.
welcome.
Yay.
and Grandpa's trying to act real silly.
Yeah, Grandpa's got his face in there.
Because that's what he does. Yep.
And I don't think he's realized he's muted.
No, I think he's working on it.
Right now, your camera's on the room, but let me get
Hi
the
there. Can you hear me now?
Oh, that's not good.
That was alien grandpa.
Yeah, that's a little too much feedback. Is Chelsea on?
How about now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear
Hear me
you.
now?
There's a lot of
I'm trying
echo.
Sometimes a microphone is not just a microphone.
But it's good to see my Sam. Look at you. Mm,
What a sweet boy.
mm. How did Kylie do?
She did great.
Of course she did. Now, for everyone who doesn't know my family, the guy in the blue shirt is Stephen. The wonderful, beautiful woman next to the other beautiful woman is my daughter-in-law, Adeline, and that robust young thing is my grandson, Sam, who I think his favorite sport is eating. He's a very robust fellow.
Yes.
So for my family, you can see Rick and Debbie, and you can see Nancy and Deanne. And Deanne was our former president.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, there's Jim Bennett. These are a lot of the people who are really active, but thanks for chiming in. I really appreciate it, guys.
Well, it is Grandparents' Day. Did you know that?
What?
It is Grandparents' Day.
Yep.
Officially Grandparents' Day. So we thought we would
Yay!
send you a little hello.
That's
Yes, that's
awesome.
wonderful. Oh, and you guys enjoyed church today too, didn't you?
Yeah.
And we have, Fred, you can't see the whole gallery at one time, but
No, I can't.
we have a new person on here, Chelsea Nicholson.
Yeah,
Hi, Chelsea. Well,
Hello.
Go check in with Chelsea.
I will. Have a great afternoon, guys. I love you so much. It's wonderful that you dropped in today. Now I got to go now I've got to earn my check. See you.
go do it.
Bye, Grandpa.
Hey, Chelsea, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Thanks for dropping in today. Any questions? Any thoughts?
I love the service. This is one of my first, this is my first service of the Universal.
Unitarian Universalist.
Unitarian Universalist. Yes.
Way too many syllables. Way too
I
many
like
syllables.
it.
Awesome. What were your first
So-
impressions?
And
I
I'd like,
really enjoyed the open-mindedness, and I thought oh man, I'm not going to remember anything. The moment of meditation was very sweet. And I just liked the feeling throughout the whole service. I really did appreciate it.
Oh, great. What made you drop in on us and not some other loopy place?
So I have had kind of a spiritual faith journey over the past few years. I was raised Mormon and have decided that that was not the path for me. And then over the past year, I haven't really gone to any churches because of COVID, and I just moved here. So there was a few different factors. So I was just looking for an open-minded local congregation because I do miss the community of church. That was something I really appreciated, but I just didn't align anymore with.
So Chelsea, I had a question in my head, just a sec. Where did you move from?
So I've been living in Utah for the past 6 years.
Okay.
But I grew up mostly in Portland, Oregon.
That's where I'm from. That's
really?
Oh, yeah. And do you live here in Chandler now, or are you Tempe or somewhere else?
I'm in Chandler, in like the Ocotillo area.
The where?
Ocotillo.
Oh, Ocotillo.
Ocotillo, oh yeah.
Sorry, I have a toddler who's really loud. I'm sure
that's
you can
okay.
hear him in the background.
We don't
My
care.
husband and I live in Sun Lakes.
Oh, super fun. Yeah. So
So we're pretty close. Yeah. Another. Yes, I love it.
I love it too.
So both Chelsea and Nancy come from Quimby land.
Oh,
yes,
yeah, remote
we are from Quimby. Yes.
Yay, good for you. By the way, Chelsea, we have a lot of former Mormons. I like to call them formons.
Well, I'm happy to be in good company.
And they and sometimes they don't. I'm not sure they get together, but occasionally they kind of laugh at the same stuff. So maybe we need to have a former Mormon support group just for hanging out and being goofy.
Yeah.
And maybe drinking coffee.
I know. The crazy beverages, right?
Oh.
I know.
Fred, there may be an informal group already.
Okay.
Well, maybe we should find a way to introduce Chelsea.
Yes.
Yes. And Chelsea, do you have an email address that you would share?
An email? Is that what you said?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's my first name, Chelsea, Chelsey.
Uh-huh.
Dot, my last name is Mickelson with an M as in Mike. ICKELSON.
Uh-huh.
And it's a Gmail.
Great.
All right, good. Someone will be in touch.
Awesome. Perfect.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So glad you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You made it through in one piece. That's the most important part.
It was fantastic. I really do. I'm excited to experience more of your guys' community culture, and I can tell you guys interact with each other in respectful, loving ways, and that's something that I appreciate.
Oh, yes.
Mostly.
Wow. Yeah. We are
All
like
right.
a big family, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and when we say family, we mean family.
Good. And
I mean,
that's what we want.
Yeah.
We need
Okay,
to warn you
everybody.
that in a minute or five or something that everyone in all those breakout rooms will come back in this room, and there will be a lot of yelling.
Chaos.
Hi, Fred. Hi, so
It'll be chaos.
it's craziness, but it's still fun.
I love that.
Well, for some people it's fun. For people like me, it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, it's
a
over
lot.
to me too.
Yep.
Fred and
Yes.
Deanne and Jim, I just wanted to let you know that this week was so much better performed and done and directed than last week, and I really appreciate it. And the one thing that people did comment on, which is no big deal, was that the mic that you were speaking at, Fred, from the front appears to have a buzz, and every time, and whoever was controlling the soundboard was able to turn it off when the videos were being shown, which is fine, but then magically the buzz was gone just at the very last minute. So whatever somebody did, you need to write it down, and I don't know what it was. It was unplugged, but the buzz went away. So like that solved the last remaining issue that I could see. It was really, really good.
While you were talking, Mike Anderson was nodding his head as he was standing right next to me. and Mark Shufeltowski, who's back there along with Libby. And if we got, I mean, considering how ragged it was last week, if that's the last thing we've got to do, I am really very happy with what they did. And I'm very proud because we do a very complicated worship service. It is not only hybrid, it's live, it is not just live, it is simultaneous on at least 2, if not 3 platforms. And we mix not only people in the room, but our music director coming in from out of the room. It's a really big task, and it really worked well today. And we in the sanctuary really loved seeing all your faces up on our screen.
Hey, Fred, there is one thing, and Mike, if you're listening, or Jim, or whoever is in charge, I did go, I put a comment on this, but I did go while Zoom was going on. I did go to YouTube on my phone and noticed that expectedly it's about a 15-second delay, so that's fine. However, what was shown was the gallery view, so you were speaking, Fred, but you were a very small part of the entire screen. And I'm wondering whether maybe you should make, or whoever's in charge should make the YouTube look the same as whatever people are looking at, mostly probably with speaker view on Zoom. You know, that would be the last little detail probably. I'm assuming that's YouTube would want to look at
there are several ways to make this better, but the good news is it really worked this Sunday, and everything now from this point forward is improvement, not repair.
Tweaking. It's really good.
Tweaking. That's what I was going to say, Rick. It's just tweaking.
Yeah.
We're witnessing progress in real time.
Yeah. And I do appreciate any time that the camera people can focus on those that are sitting in front of you, Fred, in church. We like to see that. In addition to liking to see you, it's nice to see the people that are there.
Chelsea, one more thing I'd like to tell you is that every service is different.
I mean, Rick just talked about buzzing.
So if you stand next week,
either your phone or
hear something different.
Okay, that's great.
Can't tell you what.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm now at the podium mic where Reverend Wooden was doing the sermon, and I think it doesn't have a buzz anymore. So hopefully it'll be better next time.
The buzz went away, Mike, at the very end. Whatever you did made the buzz go away about the last 2 minutes before Fred stopped speaking.
Could you hear him? Unfortunately, the audio is a little low right now in the room with all the other chatter, so I wasn't able to hear you, Rick, but anyway, I think we're good to go. Everybody else is back coming in from the chat room, so.
Yeah, here comes the rest of everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Gosh, great to see everybody.
Hi, Ann.
One of these days,
Hi, everybody.
one of these days, you guys, we've got to have a great big real opening at VUU, a real one, where all of us can go.
Still got some kinks, but
with
better than
coffee
last week.
With coffee and cookies. We got to have a real
Everything else at this point is somebody else saying, well, I like this, and I like this.
Yeah.
Everybody
The only
wave,
thing that had me kind of freaked
wave
out
and
was-
say hi to Chelsea, our new visitor today.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hello,
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Hello, Chelsea. Where's Chelsea?
Where is she?
Wherever you are, Chelsea.
Got a
Where's
baby
Chelsea?
with her.
Speak to Chelsea, and then
She's in
if you
one of those
talk,
tiny
Chelsea will
boxes.
show up.
Hi, I'm Chelsea. This is my son, Becca.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, Chelsea.
You've already made one.
Yeah, but one of the things that had me all stressed out this morning was, even though the computer that was running this.
I think Libby needs to mute.
Okay, well, you guys, everybody have a.
First rule about Tech Club, don't talk about Tech Club.
That's good. Happy New Year, Debbie.
I thought you guys did a great job this morning. I mean, I really felt, it was nice to see our own pictures, some of us up there. And, I like seeing the back a little bit every now and then of the people. You guys are improving every week.
It gets better. It gets better.
Well said.
One thing I would ask is, whose Zoom screen was it that we were viewing on YouTube? It was the same one that was on the screen behind Fred.
Yep, we're gonna work on that. Try to
That
get
was
speaker
so
view.
interesting. I mean, sometimes it would be the speaker view and we would get Barb playing and the music and everything. But otherwise, you know, like with the sermon, there was this little tiny Fred up in the corner and all these other people. It was a little disconcerting.
Yeah, we're gonna figure that one out.
Oh, you're just working on it so hard. I know. It was so much better. And on YouTube, we didn't have the buzz at all. It was great.
Actually, I heard when I was listening to YouTube with headphones, I did hear the buzz.
With
I didn't hear a buzz at all.
I didn't hear it at all. And
I
didn't
heard
have
the
any
buzz.
buzz.
I heard the buzz.
I'm gonna
The buzz went away completely toward the end.
next
Right.
week. Bye-bye, everybody. I'll see you next week. I've got to go.
Bye, Nancy.
I gotta go too.
Nancy.
Love
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
We need to
See you
get
next
going
time.
too.
Thanks
Good to see
again,
everyone.
all you techies. You're wonderful.
You techies are great.
Blessed be.
Be safe, wear your masks.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Turn in your petitions.
See you
Sign
next
the
week.
petition.
That's right.
Get the
Sign
petition
those
signed.
petitions.
Still here? How
right,
long
yeah.
is Libby gonna be at the church?
I think Bill's gonna be down there. I'm not quite sure what
How
time.
long?
Maybe for an hour or two. I don't know. I don't know
Okay,
his
I'll get it
schedule for
signed.
today.
Okay, I'm on my way. Bye.
Okay. Better
Bye,
check with
everybody.
Bill.
But we'll be there next Saturday though, too, right? Yeah,
What
there's
time
still
is
time
Saturday?
yet to hand in your petitions.
Oh, well, maybe.
He's collecting the ones that are filled out, but right now.
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
next week. All right.
There's still time. Get them signed though. And if you can't find one, go down to changing hands. I'm sure they've got people sitting outside of changing hands.
I've got a lot to turn in. Okay, take
All
care,
right.
everybody.
I'm in
Bye,
District
everybody.
17. If anybody needs District 17 and hasn't signed, call me.
That's Roberta.
Roberta Baker.
Or 25. We're 25.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.